As Europeans made their way into the Caribbean, the indigenous people living there were the Taínos. They lived in small villages under authority of chiefs and showed little resistance to European visitors. Explorer Christopher Columbus built the fort of Santo Domingo and made it the capital of the Spanish Caribbean. Taínos were conscripted to mine gold, and encomiendas, or land grants, were given to the Spanish settlers with total control over the local people. Aztec and Inca societies were wealthier and more complex than Caribbean societies. Conquistador and explorer Hernán Cortés conquered the Aztec Empire with 450 men in 1519 to 1521. Tribal resentment against the Mexica helped Cortés, and epidemic disease such as smallpox also aided the Spanish efforts. In 1532 to 1533, Francisco Pizarro led a small band of men and ousted the Inca Empire. Internal problems within the empire and smallpox aided Pizarro's efforts, and by 1540, Spanish forces controlled all the former Inca Empire. Portuguese forces established an imperial presence in Brazil, and in 1494, Brazil was given to the Portuguese by the Treaty of Tordesillas. The Portuguese king granted Brazil to nobles with a governor to oversee, and by the mid-16th century, sugar plantations were established by entrepreneurs. Brutal abuses and smallpox brought the decline of Taíno populations. Silver far outweighed gold in quantity and value. Zacatecans in Spanish looked for gold in the boomtown Potosi. Spanish administrators relied mostly on the voluntary labor, but they also adopted to the Inca practice of requisitioning labor, known as the mita system, to recruit workers for difficult and dangerous chores that free laborers would not accept. Pay was very low and death rates high. Resistance took many forms: rebellion, half-hearted work, and retreat into the mountains and forests where Spanish power did not reach. Forced labor caused the Pablo Revolt and the Tupac Amago Rebellion. Over 60,000 indigenous peoples fought for the last of the Inca rulers, who Spanish conquistadors had killed. Also, a lot of long letters were written to the king to try to get him to understand, but he never saw them. Most of the economy was based on labor. Many New England merchants traded in slaves destined for the West Indies. African slaves worked as indentured laborers, even though southern colonies used slaves more. All colonies, including the North, participated in slave trade. Native American fishermen found trade in fur more lucrative than fish. They began selling it to Europeans, and it became extremely popular. Indigenous people trapped animals of Europeans and exchanged the pelts for manufactured goods, like wool blankets, iron pots, firearms, and distilled spirits. This greatly declined the beaver population. They were getting harder to find, so conflicts began when territories were crossed. Franciscan, Dominican, and Jesuit missionaries campaigned to Christianize indigenous peoples. For example, a group of 12 missionaries arrived in Tlatelolco, where they founded a school in the housing market district of the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan. In 1778, while sailing north from Tahiti in search of the Northwest Passage, Cook came across the Hawaiian Islands, where he recognized people related to Tahitians and other Polynesians. He was able to communicate with Hawaiians based on his familiarity with Polynesian languages. His crew and island women consorted with one another, which brought venereal diseases to the islands. When Cook revisited in 1779 islanders who were less friendly, he lost his life in bitter conflict between his crew and Hawaiian islanders.